Mr. Man, Mr. Brave by Roger Hargreaves. Hi, my name is Werner. I have been reading hundreds of books for you. Please subscribe to get them all and watch until the end where a surprise is waiting for you. Thank you. Mr. Brave is not as strong as Mr. Strong. He is not as tall as Mr. Tall. But that does not stop him being brave, as you will soon see. Now, last Tuesday, little Miss Bossy invited Mr. Brave to tea. "And don't be late," she shouted down the phone. It was a very stormy day, but Mr. Brave knew that little Miss Bossy's temper was worse. So he set off for little Miss Bossy's house, hurrying along as fast as he could, to be sure that he was not late for tea. Along the way he heard a cry for help. It was Mr. Messy. He had been blown into the river by the wind. Mr. Brave did not want to be late for little Miss Bossy, but being the brave fellow he was, he jumped in and rescued Mr. Messy. Wet right through, he hurried along the lane. Suddenly he heard someone sobbing loudly. Who could it be? It was little Miss Somersault. She was balancing on a tightrope tied between two tall trees. "Oh, Mr. Brave, I'm so lonely," she sobbed. "Nobody will come and play on my tightrope. They are all too frightened of heights. You are so brave. Won't you come and join me?" Mr. Brave looked up at little Miss Somersault. Then he thought about little Miss Bossy. But being the brave fellow he was, he took pity on little Miss Somersault and climbed up onto the tightrope. They chatted away happily for a while, until Mr. Brave happened to look down. "Little Miss Somersault, look! The rope is going to snap. We are going to fall, and it's such a long way to the bottom. Oh, calamity! Oh, help!" he cried out in panic. "Be brave, Mr. Brave," said little Miss Somersault. And without more ado, she carried him safely back down to the ground. "Oh, thank you," said Mr. Brave, with a sigh of relief. Little Miss Somersault said goodbye, and Mr. Brave was left on his own, shaking like a leaf. "I don't deserve to be called Mr. Brave. I was scared stiff. Thank goodness nobody knows my secret," he said to himself. And nobody does know his secret, or do they? Little Miss Trouble just happened to be passing, and had seen everything. And what she had seen and heard had given her an idea. A very naughty idea. She grinned a mischievous grin. "Hey, come here, everybody! Come and see this!" she shouted at the top of her voice. Very quickly a large crowd gathered. "I have an announcement," announced little Miss Trouble. "Did you know that Mr. Brave isn't brave at all?" "No, it can't be true," said the crowd all together. "It is true," said Little Miss Trouble, "and I'll prove it to you." "Mr. Brave," she continued, "I dare you to walk across the tightrope." Mr. Brave looked up at the tightrope, and all the crowd looked up at the tightrope. Then all the crowd looked at Mr. Brave. Mr. Brave suddenly remembered something, a very important something. "Just look at the time," he cried. "I'm going to be late for tea at little Miss Bossy's." "Mustache!" he cried, and he ran off as quickly as possible. "Hooray!" cheered the crowd, and they all clapped and applauded Mr. Brave. Little Miss Trouble looked puzzled. "Why are you all cheering him?" she cried. "He ran away. He isn't brave at all." "Oh yes, he is," they all shouted. "Would you turn up late for tea at little Miss Bossy's house?" Little Miss Trouble thought for a moment. "Gosh, he is brave after all," she said in awe. Little Miss Bossy must be really bossy. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. Enjoy my new series Oliver and Jumpy. 19 video books with about 500 pictures. There's text, but I also read it aloud for the younger children. I have written 65 stories and had them illustrated at great cost for your children's fun. Oliver is an elegant tomcat and Jumpy is his lady friend. Oliver loves to ride in Jumpy's pouch when they go for adventures together. Please find a link to the first book in the description of this video. Please always subscribe and like if you find my effort interesting. Thank you so much.